Questions 28 through 31 refer to the passage below. Italy has 108 inhabitants per square kilometer. In proportion to its territory, only 3 countries in Europe surpass Italy in population density: Belgium, the Netherlands, and Great Britain. Every year, 100,000 farmers and agricultural laborers emigrate from Italy. Italy witnesses its place in the family of civilized nations growing smaller and smaller as it looks on with fear for its political and economic future. In fact, during the last 80 years, the English-speaking population throughout the world has risen from 22 to 90 million, the Russian-speaking population from 50 to 70, and so forth down to the Spanish population, who were 18 million and are now 39. On the other hand, the Italian-speaking population has only increased from 20 to 31 million. At first, our emigrants were speaking Italy's language in foreign countries, but since then, their sons and grandsons ended up forgetting the language of their fathers and forefathers. Realizing that our mistakes have cost us so much in the past and continue to cost us today, I believe that there is less secure and more expensive for our people to continue to try to eke out a living from barren lands in Italy than to establish a large and prosperous agricultural colony in Eritrea. Eritrea is an Italian colonial territory in northeast Africa. This comes to us from Fernando Martini, governor of the Italian colony of Eritrea in Concerning Africa in 1897. Question 28. The perspective of the author in the first paragraph can best be understood in the context of which of the following 19th century developments? A. The expansion of Catholicism in Africa and the Americas. The development of the new military technologies due to industrialization. C. Competition among European states for global power and influence. D. Increasing African immigration to Italy. 29. The author's statement that descendants of Italian immigrants, quote, ended up forgetting the language of their fathers and forefathers, end quote, most directly refers to which of the following aspects of 19th century migration? Some receiving societies attempted to limit the flow of immigrants. B. Some colonial states applied theories of social Darwinism to establish racial preferences. C. Immigrants often adapted the dominant culture of the states in receiving societies. D. Immigrants often maintained some aspects of their religion within ethnic enclaves. Go on to the next page. 30. Italian and German imperial presence in Africa were similar in that both countries A. Saw African colonies as secondary to their interests in Asia. B. Were newly unified nations that began colonizing later than other European powers. C. Primarily used their colonies in Africa to spread Christianity. D. Invested heavily in African infrastructure and economic development. 31. Martini's argument in the second paragraph most clearly refers to the late 19th century belief that imperialism was a useful way to A. Relieve overcrowding and land shortages in European countries. B. Secure raw materials for European factories. C. Promote scientific and technological progress. D. Civilize native populations through social change. Go on to the next page. Questions 32 through 35 refer to the following passage. Although I am a common woman, I have been the head of a family for some time, and I have fulfilled the various duties required as head of family. Therefore, I automatically assume that the government gave all heads of families equal rights, regardless of sex. However, I recently found that this is not the case. I was told that I have no right to vote, even for the local ward. a neighborhood assembly where I live because I am a woman. I was told that for the same reason I am unable to sign or co-sign legal documents, although I have a registered legal seal. Thus, there is a world of difference between male and female heads of family in terms of rights, but rights and duties should coexist together. It should logically be the case that if the head of family has the right to vote, she has an obligation to pay tax. But if there is no vote, there should be no tax obligation. However, I have to pay tax even though I have no right to vote. Considering this, I feel that my rights have been denied. Kusuyono Kita, a Japanese woman, political activist, and member of the Popular Rights Movement, an organization that advocated expanding voting rights in Japan. She wrote this letter to the government authorities in 1878. As described in the passage, the voting requirements in Japan circa 1878 most directly reflected the continuing influence of A. Societal norms that assigned women lower statuses than the status of men. B. Nationalistic ideas that monopolized Japanese men in order to support imperial expansion. C. Middle-class ideals that motivated women to seek work outside the household. Or D. Buddhist principles that emphasized the women's spiritual equality of men and women. 33. The author's argument regarding taxation most closely resembles the arguments made by A. Enlightenment thinkers regarding natural rights and the social contract, B. Working class movements regarding better wages and working conditions, C. Abolitionist movements regarding the need to end the Atlantic slave trade, D. Conservative thinkers regarding the need to preserve the social status of landed elites. 34. Based on the passage, the author would most likely support which of the following policies? A. Adopting a socialist system of government to reduce economic inequalities in Japanese society. B. Providing greater educational opportunities to increase women's economic independence. C. Industrializing the Japanese economy to increase the standard of living for all Japanese citizens. D. Returning Japan's political order to the way it was under the Tokugawa shogunate. 35. The type of grievances outlined by the author in this passage was a key contributing factor to the outbreak of which of the following? A. The American Revolution. B. The Haitian Revolution. C. The First World War. D. The Second World War. Go on to the next page. Question 36 through 39 refers to the image below. This is Indian Muslim troops in the British Armed Forces praying. This photograph was taken in Surrey, England in 1916. In the background, a group of British citizens, mostly women, are watching the troops pray. 36. The photograph best illustrates which aspect of the population movements in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. A. They often involved the spread of cultural traditions to new locations. B. They were often undertaken to displace labor forces lost to war or disease. C. They often resulted in the decline or disappearance of native religious traditions. D. They often caused intercommunal violence. 37. The experiences of soldiers, such as those shown in the photograph, most likely contributed to which of the following developments after 1918? A. Conflict between Hindus and Muslims in India. B. The rise of authoritarian governments between the world wars. C. The idea that all Muslims should unite politically under the Ottoman Sultan. D. Growing anti-imperial opposition to European colonies, such as India. Go on to the next page. The situation shown in the image is best understood in the context of which of the following aspects of the 20th century warfare? A. States use propaganda to intensify patriotism in times of war. B. States used new industrial technologies to fight wars that were deadlier and more expensive. C. States used full use of their populations and material resources to fight total wars. D. States increasingly mobilize their citizens for warfare regardless of gender or class. 39. As shown in the image, the deployment of soldiers by European powers most directly relates to which of the following causes of conflict during the early 20th century? A. A network of rival alliance systems. B. Imperialist expansion for competition for resources. C. The decline of global economic production and trade. D. The emergence of revolutionary communism. Go on to the next page. Questions 40 through 43 refer to the table below. This is annual revenues and expenditures of the African French colony of Togo in 1938. These are all given in French francs. Revenues. Direct taxes of the people, 7,933,000. Taxes on domestic production and imports, 22,870,000. Revenue from postal service and telegraph, 1,130,000. Funds from the French colonial budget, 8,744,000. Other income, 3,380,000. Total revenues, 44,057,000. Expenditures. Colonial official salaries and other expenses, 17,600,000. Public works, communications, and infrastructure, 4,885,000. Sleeping sickness-related personnel and other medical costs, 2,700,000. Other expenditures, 15,259,000. Total expenditures, 40,444,000. These figures are from a report of the Togo colonial government to the Ministry of Colonies in Paris. Continue on to the next page for questions. 40. The table best supports which of the following conclusions? European powers did not provide financial support for the maintenance of their colonies. B. European powers maintained colonies despite global war and economic depression. C. Europeans migrated and established settler communities in Africa. D. Revenue from cash crops accounted for the majority of, quote, other income in French African colonies. 41. The revenue section of the table can best be used to illustrate which of the following continuities between pre-1900 and post-1900 European imperialism. A. Competition between European colonial powers encouraged imperial expansion. B. Some African peoples successfully resisted colonial economic exploitation. C. Colonial powers directly subsidized most of the expenditures needed to maintain their colonies. D. Colonial powers sought to extract wealth and economic resources from colonized people. 42. The expenditures shown in the table most strongly illustrate which of the following? A. Despite some medical advances, the environment in Africa continued to present unique challenges to European imperialism. B. Despite economic challenges they faced at home, European imperial powers continued to finance local manufacturing in their colonies. C. The primary objective I'll have to continue this in